I was hoping that Steve could get on the Billy Corgan podcast show and discuss his side jamming incident.
It seemed like for a minute I was going to be in Billy Corgan's brand new band, but then they stopped calling. And I figured out, I later thought that it might have been when I let my personality show and I told a story about how in Red Cross we had a rule that no one was allowed to side jam, like sort of all a 38 special or whatever. And so when they were like, "What's that?" So I walked over to Billy and I placed my whole body, like back, ass, everything up against his side. And I started like side jamming, like playing air guitar.
It's like a thumbs up kind of move.
We were having a conversation about the cultures of bands and the do's and the don'ts, and every band kind of has their own unique set. And that's when I tried to relate, like, oh yeah, yeah, you mean like no side jamming? And they were like, looked at me puzzled, like, what's side jamming? So then I used Billy Corgan's body as my prop as I displayed an offensive side jam. And since I was contextualizing it as like this, yeah, this is an offensive move, I thought that it would be okay. But though I think the problem was that I actually touched his body with my entire body and my backside. And and it just was one of those moments when I was like the air was sucked out of the room because when I stepped away from his body and I turned around and I looked, it could have been my imagination, but it looked like the other dudes were like dropped, like open mouthed, and Billy looked like very stiff and uncomfortable. But I think that's it was the whole thing was hard to read. So it would be interesting to maybe reconnect 30 plus years later and see if he's recovered from that side jam or
Well, yeah,
if
I mean,
if it
but
to find out like did it actually have anything to do with or was it my plane? Because these things are so ambiguous. It's hard. Because people aren't always that straightforward. They don't really tell you why they're not calling you back anymore. I mean, that's just something that everybody that's ever had to get a job knows. And so, um, but this is a unique position, because now podcasts are popular and he's a podcaster and Damien's made me someone of note in the podcast world. So maybe we could somehow parlay this into some answers 30 years later
you
on,
know, I think 30 years later that he may have looked at he might now interpret it as assault. So you might want to go there.